All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to draw this charging block. We're going to try to draw it orthographically, but first we got to figure out how to center it. In order to center it, we need to know its width, its height, and its depth measurements. And we got to compare those measurements to the width and height measurement on your drawing space. Okay? So first thing you want to do, get a piece of scrap paper. Okay? Take a regular piece of scrap paper and do yourself a little drawing of what you expect your object to look like. So that's kind of what my object's going to look like. Take your ruler, measure your width. The width for this is 2 7/8 of an inch. Measure your height. Just so happens, the height for this is 2 7/8 of an inch. Measure your depth. The depth for this is 1 1/8 of an inch. Now, if I held my object like this, I have height and width. If I hold it like this, I have width and depth. So if I hold it like this, I have height and depth. So if I already have my depth measurement here of 1 1/8, then that's also what this depth measurement is going to be of 1 1/8. Now, the distance between views we know is 1 inch and 1 inch. So I'm going to take these three numbers and these three numbers, and I'm going to add them up with each other. We know that 2 7/8 and 1 is 3 7/8. We know that 3 7/8 plus 1 1/8, well, 1/8 plus 7/8 is a whole number, so that would be 4, plus another 1 would be 5. So we have 5 total is the distance from here to here. It just so happens that from here to here is also 5 inches total. Now, how do we use that to find our start point? What we're going to do is this. We're going to start by measuring across the paper from border to border. We have 10 inches flat. So take 10, this is our width. Take 10 inches flat and minus 5 from it. We should all be able to do 10 minus 5. Brandon Lynn, 10 minus 5 is 5. Now, if you took this whole drawing right here, from here to here, and you put it in this corner and drew it, you would have 5 inches left over on the right. But we don't want that. We want even space on either side. So we need to divide that 5 in half. So 5 divided by half is, Bobby? 2.5. So we're going to measure over 2.5, and that's going to be the line from left to right for my start point. Now vertically, when we measure this way, we get 6 7/8 for our height. Now, we know it's 5 inches from here to here, including the space in between. So 6 7/8 minus 5 is 1 7/8 of an inch. To get half of 1 7/8, what I do is I split the 1 and the 7/8 apart for a moment. I always know that half of 1 is a half. But half of 7/8, whenever you do half of a fraction, leave the top number alone. So write 7 with a line and double the bottom number. So 8 times 2 is 16. Now we need to add a half plus 7/16. In order to do that, we need common denominators. So we change the half to 8/16. We add that to 7/16, and we get 15/16. And that is going to be our vertical start point. So we measure up 15/16. Once I have those two marks, the 2.5 over, the 15/16 up, I'm going to take my T-square and triangle. I'm going to do my light vertical and horizontal lines. I'm going to take my measurements I took before, 2 7/8, 1 1/8, 2 7/8, 1 1/8. I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to measure those to my paper. 2 7/8, an extra 1 would be 3 7/8, and an extra 1 1/8 would be 5. Take my ruler, go up, 2 7/8, 3 7/8, and 5. Using your T-square, show yourself light lines across. Using your triangle, Draw your vertical lines up. These could be a little darker because we know that's where they start and end for the most part. Okay, and then use your eraser to erase the stuff in between. Now, that is the basic shape of the front view, top view, and right side view. But what I'm missing from my views are the little prongs that come off for the electric. So I'm going to take a couple more measurements. I'm going to go back to my example drawing I made here. I'm going to measure down from the top on the front view first. And the measurements to the top of the blade and the bottom of the blade are 5/8 and 7/8. So from here to here is 5/8. And from here to here is a 1/4 inch more. So it's 5/8 plus 2/8 would be 7/8. So that's my first measurement. My second measurement I need to take for this is the measurement out. And that is 5/8 out like this. From here to here is 5/8 more. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to measure out along the line 5/8. I'm going to measure down 5/8 and 7/8. Using my T-square, lightly bring my lines across to about where I think they're going to end. Using my triangle, I'm going to finish off. Over here, you'll notice I finished the line here, but I'm also going to take a light line and put it up top, and that's the same thing I should have did here on the side view. I should have took 2 light lines and brought them across. Because what's going to happen is, although this side view, or this front view looks correct, when I got to do my top view, I got to include these blades, and I got to include these little indents here. Now, these indents are each 3/16 wide. Okay, the middle section is 5/16 wide. I can do this one of 2 ways. I could try to measure from the edge and figure out where my measurements lay, or I could find the center of this. So if it's 1 1/8, I know half plus a 16th is going to be the center. From the center, if I know the middle section is about 1/4 inch wide, I can go 1/8 up, I can go 1/8 down. And then each one of these little things is 3/16 wide. So from the 1/8 down, I mark 3/16, and from the 1/8 up, I mark 3/16. The depth of this is 5/16. So come in with the 5/16 mark. Use my triangle. Draw a light line up. Use my T-square. Now I don't draw my center mark over. I just draw the indents like this. Erase the little tails around them. Take another look at my object and say to myself, oh, it's still got these 2 little spikes that come out. Those are right in the dead center, and they're 1/16 of an inch wide. So I put my 2 little marks for them, like so. I use my triangle from here, because I know that my length lines up. I actually already drew that line. And draw my 2 blade lines for the electrical plugs. Erase the ends, and that's what it looks like from a top view. Okay? From a front view, it's pretty simple. You would just need to measure in and figure out your stuff this way and lay it out in between these 2 lines. I'm going to show you a little trick. If you have the 45-degree triangle at home, when you do an orthographic drawing, if you find the corner of the drawing like this, and you have equal spacing between 1 inch here and 1 inch here, you take a very light line and you draw it out on a 45 like this. Any measurement that you take horizontally over from your top view, and you run it into your 45-degree line, if you then use your triangle, go to its intersecting point, you will be able to redraw it down without measuring from the top. So these are my indents, like this, and this is the thickness of my blade. Now, is that the easiest thing to do? No, but it's a quicker way than remeasuring everything from left to right. Like I could have remeasured all this, put the ruler here, and measured it all, or I draw this light 45, bring my lines out horizontally. Wherever they intersect the 45, I use my triangle, and I go straight down, and I can bring the lines over, and I get that same shape, that same look that I'm going for. When I'm done, I'm going to darken all my lines up, and I'm going to dimension the drawing. For today, I want you to just be able to draw the 3 views of your drawing. I want you to make sure it's centered. What's the easiest way to figure out if it's centered? Anybody in here got a clue? What do you think? How would you know if it's centered or not? Well, we got this cool new invention. It's called a ruler, right? If you measure from the border to your left line, I have 2.5. When I measure from the border to my right line, I have 2.5. I know I'm centered. When I measure up and down, I got 15/16. When I measure up and down, I got 15/16. And that is how you center your drawing. Today, you are going to create a drawing of an object. It does not have to be a charging block for an iPhone or an iPad, but it can be. The only thing you can't draw is your cell phone. Right? We did that yesterday. Find something else to draw. If you're stuck in school with me, draw an eraser if you want to. Draw something that you can take from here today and bring home tomorrow so you can work on it tomorrow also. If you're at home today and you're coming to school tomorrow, make sure whatever you draw, you stick in your book bag at the end of the period so you have it to draw tomorrow along with your drawing. Okay? And that is how we set up our space so we can do